Donald Trump is set to take office on January 20th next year. But the political coalition that brought him to power seems to be breaking apart before he even takes office. Trump's wealthy supporters like billionaire Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are at war with Trump's conservative base. This war is being fought over one key issue: immigration, and more specifically, H1B visas for tech workers from India. Trump's conservative base wants all immigration, even legal immigration from highly skilled professionals, to come down. But his most famous backers in the tech world want the opposite. But what exactly are H1B visas? And how did they get so controversial? And how will this whole controversy impact Trump's policy on Indian immigration into America? Those are the questions we're going to answer on Threadbare. Before we get into the H1B visa war, let's do first things first. How in the world did we get here? The controversy began a few weeks ago when Donald Trump appointed Indian origin entrepreneur Sriram Krishnan as a top advisor on AI and technology policy. Nothing about this seemed entirely controversial. Krishnan has been a fairly well-known figure in the tech world for years, and his appointment was hardly the first of an Indian American in the upcoming Trump administration. Vivek Ramaswamy, Kash Patel, and Tulsi Gabbard have also received top positions in the new government. But a controversial social media post alleged that Trump was handing over control of the American government to Indians like Krishnan. A social media firestorm soon erupted that became about a lot more than just Krishnan's appointment. On one side, we have Donald Trump's most controversial supporters on the far right, like political commentator Laura Loomer. Loomer has a history of making racist comments about Indians, and she suggested that Indian immigration into the United States through visas like the H1B was like a third world invasion of America. Loomer also suggested that mass Indian immigration into America would replace the country's existing population and destroy its culture. This is also known as the Great Replacement Theory. Honey Loomer and others like her suggest that massive American tech firms hiring Indian immigrants were deliberately not investing in training and hiring Americans. They therefore want less and not more H1B immigration into America. Now, Loomer actually faced massive pushback from other influential Trump supporters, most notably Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, Musk has run some of the world's most successful tech firms, and he argued that America actually has a serious shortfall in the amount of domestic technology talent it has. And if America wants to beat China in the emerging global technology race, it needs the best talent it can get from around the world. Now, this is the brewing battle at the heart of the Trump administration: his newfound supporters in the tech world versus his supporters on the hard right of the party. And at the heart of this important issue is something that really matters to India: the H1B visa. So what exactly is it? Well, the H1B visa was created in 1990 to allow American employers to hire foreign talent and workers who specialized in industries like engineering, technology, and medicine. Then, as now, America faced rising competition in cutting-edge science and technology from Western Europe and Japan. So America was desperate for science and technology talent, and so the H1B visa was created. Foreign nationals with the right skill set and a work sponsorship from an American tech firm could actually get a visa to work in the United States for 3 years and then extend it over a period of time. Now, this visa became popular, especially with Indians who were attracted to America's growing tech industry. And this time, from the 1990s onwards, is also when we saw a massive explosion in the size of the Indian immigrant community in America. So between 1990 and 2000, which is just a 10-year period, the number of Indian immigrants in America doubled to over 1 million people. In the last 25 years, that's 2000 to 2024, that number has tripled to around 3 million. A huge part of this explosion in numbers has actually been the H1B visa. So, for example, in financial year 2023, a total of 386,000 visas were issued under the program. These included extensions for old visas as well as new ones. And Indians were the number one nationality getting these visas, and they received over 70% of the total issued. Now, both Americans and Indians have done extremely well out of this visa. Indian immigrants run some of the most prominent tech firms in America like Google, Microsoft, and IBM. And Indian Americans have founded or co-founded $72 billion startups, also known as unicorns, in America in just the last 6 years. These companies together employ around 55,000 people and are valued at almost $200 billion. So the Indian diaspora is also one of the wealthiest ethnic groups in America, and by some estimates provide a massive $250 to $300 billion in tax revenue to the US exchequer. That's money that the United States uses for national defense, for funding border security, as well as for growing the economy. But despite all of this, the H1B visa has been controversial since the day it was first brought in. Laura Loomer and Trump's hard-right supporters are really not the first to criticize the visa program. First, critics of the program argue that the H1B visa hasn't really been working as advertised. They argue that big tech firms prefer to hire foreign workers and are hurting American workers in the process. Since employers aren't required to test the US labor market to see if workers are available before hiring an H1B worker or pay their H1B workers a fair wage, employers have exploited the program. Rather than turning to the H1B program as a last resort when US workers cannot be found, most employers hire H1B workers because they can be underpaid and are de facto indentured to the employer, say Daniel Hira and Ron Costa of the US-based Economic Policy Institute. Other investigations have also found that a section of American companies actually took advantage of the loopholes in the H1B visa law. They used these loopholes to fire American workers and replace them with younger, cheaper, temporary foreign workers with H1B visas. Prominent Indian-American politicians like Nikki Haley have actually also criticized the H1B program. Haley believes that American tech companies have turned to foreign workers rather than training talent domestically. But while this debate rages, the ultimate policy that the US government will adopt will depend on one man, Donald Trump. When he ran for president the first time, Trump was actually a major critic of the H1B visa program.
Well, first of all, I think, and I know the H1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
Under Trump's presidency, it became much harder for Indians to get an H1B visa, as his government tightened regulations and standards for American companies hiring foreign workers. In fact, in the first years of the Trump administration, visa denial rates also rose. He also made it harder for spouses of Indians on H1B visas to find work in America. But in his most recent campaign for the presidency, he adopted a more supportive stance on H1B visas. And it's important to note that in the latest battle between the hard right and tech titans, Trump backed Musk and the tech titans. I've always liked the visas. I have always been in favor of the visas. That's why we have them. I have many H1B visas on my properties. I've been a believer in H1B. I've used it many times. It's a great program, Trump said recently. While Trump has decided the H1B debate for now, it will almost certainly not be the last we hear of this controversy. Even Elon Musk, who fought hard for the H1B visa, has made clear that the system is broken and now needs reform. This could include raising minimum salaries and making it more expensive for US companies to hire foreign workers, including Indians. And that in turn could negatively impact Indian workers hoping to work in America. For its part, India has been clear that the introduction of the H1B transformed India-US relations forever. The massive growth of the Indian diaspora from the 1990s on helped the two countries grow closer in a way that few other things could have. India's top diplomat S. Jaishankar agrees with that view.
When Nehru first went to America, there were 3,000 Indian Americans. When Indira Gandhi went first time as PM, it was 30,000. When Rajiv Gandhi went, it was 300,000. When Narendra Modi went, it was 3.3 million. In America, people see the diaspora, members of the diaspora do well. They associate it with their image of India. And that then shapes their views about India. Let us say, if we take the late 90s, really as when India-US relationship started to change course, no question, it's, the geopolitics, end of the Cold War, all of that mattered. But I also think that a very equally powerful parallel happening was actually the growth, H1B did as much as the end of the Cold War to shape India-US relations.
So the battle over the H1B and the outpouring of anti-India racism that it seems to have sparked do raise some concerns for India. Is this simply an unpleasant but isolated incident? Or will elements of Trump's political coalition continue to target Indians and their place in America? That's something that India will pay close attention to. Thanks for watching Threadbare with me, Shashank Mattu. You can catch this show again next week on India Today Global.